To stay on with me. And now, viewers, let's take a look at the oil prices around the world. So let me give you a better understanding of that, viewers. Now, this is an oil prices tracker that NewsX has put together for you this morning to give you a better understanding of what we're really talking about. Now, one WTI crude last was $99.48. The change is plus 0.77, and the percentage of the change is plus 0.78%. We're talking about Brent crude, which is important, viewers. That's what goes into our cars and, is a form of fuel, of course. Now, last $104.77, change is 1.62 plus, and the percentage change is 1.57%. Bourbon crude, last is $114.36. The change is 3.32. Of course, subtracted here, and the percentage is minus 2.82%. Can we have the next slide? Yes, for DME Oman, the last is $86.12. Then the change is plus 16.09, and the percentage change is plus 13.26%. Indian basket last was $127.22. The change is plus 13.65, and the percentage is plus 12.02%. So this is, of course, the change that is happening, viewers. Oil is getting expensive considering the situation around the world. And joining me now is Mithali Nikore, economist. Mithali, how do you see the current situation when it comes to the oil prices? All right, we don't have
expected line.
Yes, please go on, Mithali. Yes.
Yeah, so I was saying the current trajectory of the oil prices is clearly on expected lines. We did expect the oil prices to continue to rise as long as tensions remain. And in the absence of de-escalation, it is projected that crude oil would go up to $150 a barrel by the end of this month, by the end of March. And the rise in oil prices is pretty much following this trajectory. Of course, this places a huge, cost on countries like India, because for India, a $10 increase in prices per barrel means an increase of nearly $7 to $8 billion in the import bill per month. So this is definitely a huge drain on the fiscal situation and on our fiscal resources.
All right, Mithali, stay on with me. I'll come back to you now. Indian stock markets open flat today amid the ongoing Middle East war. While the Sensex opened 50 points higher, Nifty also started the day in green. Earlier, GIFT Nifty also signaled a positive start. However, overall sentiment remains cautious due to global concerns and heavy fuel FI selling. This comes as crude oil prices remain elevated amid the ongoing Iran-Israel-US conflict. This is despite assurances from the Trump administration on safe transit for ships through the Strait of Hormuz. And Mithali, I'm coming to you with this development. What would you like to say on this?
So I think this is again very much on expected lines. We do expect global markets to be in turmoil at this point in time, and at this point in time, as I said, this is the third week of the conflict. This is the third week in which we are hearing several mixed messages coming from different persons in the U.S. administration. Today, President Trump has talked about setting up an international coalition for the safe passageway of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. But, even through these messages, essentially what is clear is that the international community is not united in its view of Iran. There's a huge global outrage over the manner in which the war is being fought, and I think in this scenario, markets are taking into account that this may be a prolonged conflict, and that's why we're seeing so much upheaval across emerging economies and a flight of capital to safety in developed economies.
All right. I want to go across to Ambassador Goel also for his comments on the same.
Vaishali, it will be futile to say that our economy will be uh, able to weather the storm. We are going to face turbulence. We are facing turbulence as the stock market has shown, and the rupee value, the way it has gone down. And the combination of the two does show a normal tendency in these volatile times that they would tend to basically keep their investment safe, withdraw from the emerging markets, park the money somewhere in the safer areas, which would be basically either in the USA or in the developed Western market like or even Hong Kong and Singapore, etc. Therefore, I'm not at all surprised. But I'm also quite confident that because uh, basically the essential strength of the parameters of the Indian economy remain quite safe and remain strong. Our activity is normal, going to gain strength. And therefore, I think as the war gets over, after this turbulence, we should really be again back on a positive trajectory as far as the stock market is concerned. So it is, to my understanding, a blip, not so temporary, but not permanent either.
Major General Gigi Dwivedi, I want to ask you that, if Iran was to attempt disrupting shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, what kind of military response could we see from Israel and the US?
Well, Vishali, we just discussed this strategic importance of Strait of Hormuz because almost 20% of the global oil flows through this. So this is going to impact and already impacting the energy scene, and energy is one of the very key component of how the economy is driven or economy is shaped. So therefore, it is very important for America, especially for President Trump, to ensure that Strait of Hormuz is opened, and the oil fluctuation that is causing, almost seismic tremors across the globe, it is taken care of. And here, the partners of, American partners, whether be it Japan, South Korea, India, and Japan, India, we are part of the Quad. Now, this is impacting the partners across the board, and therefore he cannot just now leave the Strait of Hormuz in limbo. So it has become almost critical or incumbent for the Americans to ensure that Strait of Hormuz is kept open. Now, what are the options to keep it open? Because it is a trump card for the for the Iranians, and now militarily there are 2-3 issues that need to be taken into consideration. First and foremost, it means that you have to physically employ forces, that is the amphibious forces and the special forces, to ensure that you create corridors, because Strait of Hormuz at the narrowest point is about 33 to 40 kilometers, so you'll have to create the lanes, safe lanes through which the ships or the tankers can transit. Secondly, you have to take care of the threat in 3 levels. First is the immediate threat, that is by the way of mines or by way of the drones or the missiles which can be fired on the tankers. That is the immediate security. Second is the standoff security, means from where likelihood the missiles or the drones can be fired. And the third very important point is to ensure that the whole corridor is kept open. That means that you have to have air domination or the air superiority, so that no projectile, no drones or no missile can come in. So this has to be in 3 tiers: immediate security, the intermediate security, and the larger shield against the hostile air projectiles or the drones. So it's going to be a major operation. It's not going to be very easy. And one word of caution I can sort of state, that you cannot make anything 100% foolproof. Despite all this, there will be still chances that the drones or missiles of Iranians would be able to get through. And my last point is, this will entail putting boots on the ground, because until you physically secure the corridors, you will not be able to give the immunity to the passing tankers or the ships. So this is going to get further complicated, and this will willingly involve, putting the boots on the ground, and that's why 2,500 Marines have been actually mobilized, because they are the ones who are expert in such like operations. So all I can say, Vishali, that this is going to be complicated, not very easy, and you cannot make it 100% foolproof, because there are chances that certain projectiles will be able to get through, Vishali.